Welcome to the ACC on ESPN. College basketball after dark comes your way from the farm inside Maples Pavilion. The Syracuse Orange open up a two-game California road swing, taking on the host Stanford Cardinal, putting the finishing touches on a three-game homestand tonight. Up to the moment, conference standings in the ACC. Second-ranked Duke alone in first place on a 14-game heater. Stanford has been climbing the last few weeks. Syracuse hoping to do the same with the month of February right around the corner. Hi, everybody. It is great to have you with us alongside the Arizona Wildcat and 12-year pro, Corey Williams. I'm Chris Sylvester. Long trip out west for Syracuse, still trying to find their identity in the post-Jim Boeheim era. Meanwhile, Stanford, they're playing their best basketball of the season right now. They've won 5 of their last 6 games.
Well, that's what you want if you're Stanford. Be playing your best basketball at the end of January, March. This is the grind period for all teams to position themselves for the postseason.
We'll see 2 of the best big men in the ACC tonight. The top scorer and rebounder in the conference calls Stanford home. His name is Maxime Reynaud.
Well, if you ever wondered what a 2-guard would look like if you stretched him out to 6'11", 7 feet tall, Maxime Reynaud is what you would get. An unbelievable combination of size, finesse, ability. It's very rare to see this kind of touch on a big man, whether it's from range or in the post. He is very efficient, a big-time finisher, blocks shots, gets rebounds, but most importantly, he's a team leader. He shows up every night with the double-double, no question about it. He is the driving force for the Stanford Cardinal.
Speaking of double-doubles, Eddie Lampkin has 8 of them this season, hauled in 23 rebounds over the weekend at home against Pitt.
Lampkin is going to be so essential to the Orange tonight. He is their physical presence. 23 rebounds just a game ago. You see the energy he brings, but defensively, can he slow down the Cardinal, and can he give the cues an inside presence in the paint?
J.J. Starling has led the way scoring for Syracuse. Averages almost 19 a game, a top 5 scorer in the ACC.
No doubt about it. Starling's going to have a 20-point game for Syracuse to be competitive tonight. Him and Lampkin will have their hands full.
Syracuse set to play its first game in the Golden State since 2013 tonight. Late night ACC hoops on the docket next. It's the Syracuse Orange and the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford locking horns for the first time as conference foes tonight in the ACC. Game 21 for the Cardinal and the Orange as the starting lineups are announced here inside Maples Pavilion. Syracuse here tonight at California on Saturday. Maxime Reynaud, the big star out west that has resurrected this Stanford program. They've been a big surprise in the ACC this year. Syracuse hoping to have an NC State-like run from a season ago. I think everybody's kind of aiming for that towards the bottom of the standings right now. The aforementioned J.J. Starling leads them in scoring. They'll need more from the other seniors. Lucas Taylor, Jair Davis back in the starting 5 for the Orange tonight. They have struggled away from the JMA Wireless Dome, just 1-7 in games away from Syracuse this season. Stanford Cardinal, big surprise this year, 11-1 on their home floor, and Kyle Smith hit the transfer portal and kept some guys around to build this roster.
Very experienced lineup for Stanford, led by the senior, but you're right, bringing that extra level of talent, filling some spots. They lost some guys, but the Stanford team playing really good ball, and that's where you want to be this time of year.
Kyle Smith, the reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year up at Washington State, helped that program to its first big dance since 2008 last season. Went into the round of 32 before falling to Iowa State. Calls the Bay Area like a second home. He's from Houston originally, but the ex-St. Mary's assistant, San Francisco head coach, felt like this job was in his wheelhouse. Of course, the great academics at Stanford. He got his head coaching career started in the Ivy League back east at Columbia. Brett Autry on the other side for Syracuse. The Orange point guard of the early 90s, been on staff since 2011. Calls this job a dream come true. It's more than just a coaching job for the former Orange point guard.
He spent a lot of years in those colors, so you don't have to question the importance of leading this program. He understands the history, the tradition, wants to see the Syracuse team return to some of that former glory.
Lamar Simpson, Chuck Jones, Brett Smith, your officials tonight as we play ACC basketball late night out west. Stanford's only loss this season at home came back in late November, and it's their resume-wise worst loss of the season, a quad 4 defeat here against Cal Poly from the Big West. Other than that, they've been very difficult to beat in this building. They work late in the clock. Reno finds Blakes. Back to the big man. A straight-on three.
And Reno turns, acknowledging the student section who were counting that down. But there you see the effectiveness of a 7-footer that has a 3-ball. Late in the possession, pick, pop, able to knock it down.
Now Reno picks up Eddie Lampkin as he backs him down, sneaks it across the lane. Jair Davis powers it up, and Reno clears away the miss.
That's a good look from Lumpkin. You've got to convert those. If Lumpkin's going to demand a double team, guys have to finish for Syracuse.
This is his first attempt, had a career best 27 over the weekend and a win here over Florida State. First-year Cardinal transfer from USC. About a 3,000-mile trek for Syracuse out to the West Coast. Got here Monday night. Won't go home until Sunday night. Late in the clock. A turnaround for Taylor. Wiggles out. Syracuse lost at home Saturday in their most recent game against Pitt, despite out-rebounding the Panthers by 17. A lot of that was Lampkin's 23. And Reno, unsurprisingly, has the first 5 for Stanford tonight.
And that's been the biggest difference in his game. Zero hesitation as he drops a nice jump hook to the baseline. That's something that he added to his game. He really didn't have that a couple of seasons ago, but now he's just so polished in the paint.
Jair Davis lost it. Dribbled it off of his sneaker. The first orange turnover. Something Red Autry really wants to see his team limit tonight. Blakes. Taken by Davis. And Syracuse in search of its first points. 2.5 minutes in. Elijah Moore misses his first attempt.
Back to the practice gym.
Only the second all-time meeting between these two programs on the hardwood, and the first at a campus site. They met back in 2011 at the NIT preseason tip-off tournament. A victory for Syracuse. Sellers lays it in. It's a 7-0 start for the Cardinal here on the farm. Hasn't been Syracuse's main issue as much as the struggles they've had defensively this season, but right now a lid on the bucket. Starling partially blocked. Reno saves it in, and it's recovered by Kamen.
There you see the defensive presence of Reno rotating over, getting a piece of the shot, and getting Stanford out.
Sellers couldn't finish this time, but grabs the second effort. Isaiah Sellers has been the best three-point percentage shooter in the ACC in conference play. Long-range miss from Reno.
Right now, the Orange have to try to find a way to get the ball inside the Lampkin, let him challenge Reno in the one-on-one and see if he can get some things going. Nice spin move, but he turns it over.
Tough start for the Orange out west. Still scoreless out west. Still scoreless. Down 7 against the Stanford Cardinal at our first stoppage tonight.
Well, every bit as good as advertised. Maxime Reno off to a hot start. End of possession, the long ball is good. And then on the block, unstoppable. You're going to see the finesse on display, but he plays both ends of the floor at the other end, making the rotation for the Cardinal with the block.
Settling in at Stanford Maples Pavilion, Maxime Reno, to nobody's surprise, has fueled this 7-0 start for the Cardinal tonight. He's one of the nation's top scorers. top rebounders, and he leads everybody in double-doubles with 16 this season. Corey, he's already halfway there at our first time out tonight.
Well, he's that rare combination of talent and confidence. He knows his team is going to count on him. He knows he has the green light, and that makes all the difference. When you get the ball and don't have to hesitate or think, and you're the #1 option, you kind of play a little more relaxed than most guys out there. And he is a handful defensively because he can set screens and roll. He can step back with a jumper. He can post up. And the reason that Stanford scores as well as they do, a lot of guys feed off the action that he creates.
Kyle Smith says Maxime Ramo, he's not Nikola Jokic, but he's our Nikola Jokic. And says a good pro copy came up recently for Maxime is Kelly Olynyk, the ex-Gonzaga Bulldog, who's now with the Toronto Raptors and has been in the league for a while. I mean, he's gone from a bench big in the Pac-12 a couple years ago to a likely first-round pick after his final college season this year.
I think there are a lot of teams in the NBA who have a pick in the first round that could use a 7'1" guy with that type of ability. I think the way the NBA game is played now, it's an open game. He is going to flourish at the next level.
Starling steps back, and it horseshoes off the iron. Syracuse cannot buy a bucket 5 minutes in.
And Syracuse has applied more pressure offensively. They have good guards that can get downhill. They're going to need to try to penetrate against Stanford, create some opportunities.
Stanford off to a 3-for-8 start on this end. Blakes finds a crease and draws a foul. It's on J.J. Starling. Jalen Blakes will take the first free throws of the night.
And there you see Blakes getting a layup opportunity because defensively, Lampkin had to stay with Reno. He couldn't come over and help. And like I said, guys really eat off those ball screens with Maxime Reno.
Jalen Blakes, the graduate transfer from Duke, spent the last 3 seasons with the Blue Devils. He's got 3 20-point games this season. It's been a big breakout campaign in a lot of ways for Blakes, who never averaged more than 3.5 points per game in 3 seasons with the Blue Devils. And he leads Stanford in free throw attempts. This is part of his offensive game. 9-0 start for the Cardinals. Winners in 5 of their last 6 and 3 straight. Kind of gotten themselves back in the NCAA tournament conversation. Sidestep 3. Barely grazes the iron. Chris Bell's first attempt off the bench.
And he is a flat-out shooter, but coming in ice cold, probably want to get a little more reps up and down the court before pulling the trigger.
Reno buries the 3.
Man down, and that's an easy bucket for Reno.
He's got 8 of the first 12 and a pair of triples tonight. Now has the team lead with 38 this season. Lampkin kicks it. Jair Davis from the corner. Still nothing in the point column for Cuse.
But Lampkin had a 2-point opportunity and passed it up. That probably would have been the best shot attempt they had in that possession. Right now, Syracuse doing a little soul searching. I mean, 12 points isn't enough to win the game, but you do want to get on the board here soon.
Blakes nails the baseline jump shot. It's a 14-0 start for Stanford.
Now you see Coach Autry up. A little concerned with the effort given by the starting unit.
Stuck in quicksand on this end of the floor.
Well, right now, they haven't established a threat in the paint. Everything's been from the perimeter. And there you see the turnover leading to some transition.
Sellers downhill, puts it in, and give him one on the house. Stanford couldn't have dreamt of a better start on their home floor.
Well, you see the indecision by Syracuse on the perimeter. They're really not sure what to do. This is just a weak pass, and it gets picked off and then transition. Good strength, a little bit of weight room, taking it hard to the rack. We talked about the defensive lapse of Syracuse, and talking with Coach earlier today, he stressed he wanted to see his guys put forth a better effort on the defensive end. And right now, 17 unanswered for Stanford.
Syracuse, 7 shot attempts, 7 misses, and 3 turnovers, making 4. The moving screen on Pete Mostorovic, the freshman from Serbia, off the bench.
Stanford going to their bench because they can, up 17. Syracuse going to their bench because they need some jumper cables on this offense right now. Coming out flat against a Stanford team that's playing in rhythm.
Foul before the shot attempt. And it's on Kyle Cuff, redshirt junior from Harlem, in his 2nd season at Syracuse after a pair of red shirts at Kansas. Very discouraging start after the long trip out west. Sellers, and Cuff took it away from behind.
Great block right there by Cuff to rotate over and give them energy.
The Cuff mercifully has the first Syracuse point.
First time they attack the rack, first time they score. Let's see if they go back to it.
And a sarcastic cheer from the Stanford student section behind us.
Yeah, they're not fans.
They were starting to feel bad for Syracuse.
That's a lot of basketball to play. The question is, can Syracuse lock in defensively and they give up another layup?
Ryan Agarwal's first points at 7 and 23 minutes off the bench over the weekend here against Florida State. 19-2. Lampkin. Mostorovic, right left. And Reno has another rebound, already his 7th. Stanford 7 of 13 to open the game on this end. Agarwal across the lane. Akpara gets it back in a crowd. Sellers. Benny Gieler for 3. It's good. Timeout, Red Oxford. Stanford is sizzling on the farm tonight, of 20 points in the opening half.
Ball movement is what makes Stanford so effective. And right here on the offensive rebound, they swing it around and they drilled a 3-ball corner pocket. It's the Cardinal trying to run away early.
Well, Stanford hasn't been to the big dance in over a decade. 2014, last time the Cardinal were in the NCAA tournament. If they play like this, they'll be part of March Madness this year, sitting at 14-6. Top 5 team in the ACC, only 1 loss on their home floor and hanging around the top 70 of the net, so they've got some work to do in that department. But keep stacking weeks the way they have this month, and they'll be firmly in that discussion come March.
No doubt about it. I mean, you got to do your own dirty work. And Stanford taking care of business at home. You see the record. Joe Lunardi not having them in yet, but you're right. They tack on 3 or 4 more wins. They've got to be in the conversation right now. 5, maybe 6 teams from this conference looking to get a bid.
Well, the high lob inside, broken up by Reno. Another takeaway for Stanford. Already the 5th Syracuse turnover. Agarwal, bucket.
You know, he's a very underrated shooter, one of the best shooters Stanford's seen in a while, and there you see the ease at which he can put up 3 points.
5 points for Agarwal as this game-opening avalanche continues. Jaquan Carlos, the soft touch on Syracuse. 2nd field goal almost halfway through the opening 20.
Another result of Syracuse attacking the paint. Instead of staying on the perimeter playing handball, they're trying to get downhill. They need to do a lot more of that over the final 10 minutes of the half.
That one popped out for Agarwal. Stanford 4 of 6 from the perimeter to begin this game. And 11 made trades last time against Florida State. Bell out of the shot fake. Smothered by Reno. Bad pass on the floor. And the possession arrow keeps it with Syracuse. 13 on the timer.
For most players, when you talk about shooting, you want to be completely open. Agarwal's not exactly all the way open, but he has just enough daylight. The ball comes once. Syracuse fails to react. Shooter, defender's too slow. That is an easy 3 for a shooter like him.
Agarwal sub 30% from the 3-point line, but The way things are going for Stanford, feels like every time they trigger up a shot, it's going to find nylon. Down to 5 to shoot. It's Bell elevated and missing from the baseline. Only win Syracuse has posted away from the JMA Wireless Dome this season at Boston College. Geeler took that shot from San Jose and last touched by Stanford. Not a bad time for a heat check. Up 21 on your home floor.
Well, the psychology behind it is he had the mismatch in the post. He saw his big was being guarded, so even if I miss it, we had a chance at the offensive rebound, which they did have a chance, but Coach Kyle Smith not pleased with that shot.
Cuff drives it. Strong finish. 2+1 for Kyle Cuff. Went scoreless over the weekend against Pitt.
Fun fact tonight, Chris, Syracuse 3 for 3 in the paint. Here's another take, straight line drive, muscle play by Cuff. Beautiful hang time.
Syracuse will try and chip away at this big deficit. 9 and change until the break. Jair Davis is back as Eddie Lampkin sits. Lampkin hasn't been much of a factor tonight.
No, he hasn't. They went to him once in the post. He had the turnover and hasn't seen the ball since. But most importantly, with Reno out of the game, you would think this is a prime time if you're Syracuse to try to get some stops and make a run.
Geeler, the former walk-on, gets rid of it. Akpara, transferred from Harvard, averaged 14.5 per game for the Crimson last year. Blake's in trouble. Geeler off balance. In and out.
Outstanding defense by Syracuse. Now you see him pushing it in transition.
Jake Juan Carlos is fouled. More free throws for the Orange.
That was probably their best defensive sequence. Guys rotating to the ball. They contested the shot, got the defensive rebound, and were able to push it in transition. And right now, if you're the Orange, you don't want to look at the scoreboard. You want to keep your head down, just chip away and get stops. A lot of time left here in the first half.
Carlos, the first-year Syracuse Orange, transfer from Hofstra. Hey, Thursday night features 2 top-tier women's basketball matchups, starting with 13th ranked Oklahoma and number 7 LSU on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. Then at 8:30 on ESPN, Iowa State takes on 11th ranked Kansas State. Both games also streaming on the ESPN app. 25-7. Stanford has led by as many as 23 in this opening half on their home floor. Just the second all-time meeting between these two programs. They'll only play once this year, and the plan is for Stanford to return the visit to Syracuse in conference play next season. Akpara gets a double dribble.
Akpara a little confused, thought the ball was knocked away, but it wasn't. Back-to-back stops for Syracuse. Can they continue to build on some of this momentum they're trying to establish?
First Stanford giveaway of the night is Maxime Reno back in after a short rest. Davis high to set the screen for Cuff. Baseline out of control. Blake's hit the deck, and it's another stop for Stanford. Everything on this end runs through Reno when he's on the floor. Al Smith says Blake, Sellers, and Reno have made up a big 3 here on the farm. And that's what's led to this team's success, winning 5 of their last 6 coming in. But J.J. Starling conspicuously quiet at the outset tonight, too. Syracuse leading scorer with a goose egg in the point column as Jake Juan Carlos flutters it in.
Well, he's a solid player and a disciplined player, more importantly. He's not just going to go out there and force up shots.
Let's go, boys. Let's go. Come here, buddy.
Davis knocks it away, and it's going to stay with Stanford. Syracuse with a little momentum for the first time tonight. 7 straight for the Orange in Northern California. Still down big to the Stanford Cardinal. Well, this is year 2 for Syracuse post Jim Boeheim. 20 victories, no big dance last season, and trying to avoid not going to the NCAA tournament for a 4th straight season. That hasn't happened since the early 1970s, and the injuries have played a part here, Corey. J.J. Starling missed 7 games earlier this season, and Syracuse again without its second leading scorer, Donnie Freeman, tonight, one of their top recruits.
And you look at this point in the season with 20 games under your belt, they've only had a full lineup probably 5 or 6 times. And although that's true for a lot of programs, it's hard to establish that consistency when you're missing key guys.
And you saw the defensive struggles for Syracuse. There's an obvious schematic difference between what we saw from Jim Boeheim and his nearly half a century at the helm of the program, and Red Autry and the way he's gone about his man-to-man defenses. You think Syracuse basketball, you think that vaunted orange zone, that hasn't really been their look defensively the last couple years.
No, and that's the key. I mean, obviously, he is a product of the Boeheim era, very familiar with the zone defense. But when you take the helm, you've got to incorporate some of your own personality and philosophy. You want to keep a lot of the tradition, and every coach does that. You bring new things to the table, but you definitely keep a lot of things from your time as a player.
Bell finally hits, or rather Lucas Taylor out of the corner. Taylor sinking his 16th triple of the season, and the first for the Orange tonight.
And Taylor and Bell both with nice strokes from long distance. Be interesting if they can create those opportunities. Good defense there by Lampkin to go straight up, no foul. Can Syracuse get back-to-back possessions with scores?
See if Starling can start to cook off the glass and in for his first points tonight.
The lane has been good to the Orange of Syracuse, and single digits at halftime would be a huge accomplishment given the way they started this game.
This is a 12-1 run pieced together by Syracuse the last 4.5 minutes.
And they want to get the ball to their run stopper right here, Maxime Reynaud. Beautiful shot right there, and another stop for Syracuse.
You can feel the confidence building for the Orange. Reynaud picks up Lampkin. Starling spins on Sellers. Now back to his right. Couldn't kiss it home off the glass. And Reynaud grabs his 9th rebound of this opening half.
Starting to see the Orange a lot more aggressive in the one-on-one. It took them a while to get started, but the difference is they played good defense up until that play. No rotation. Easy layup.
7 points in this opening half for Ryan Agarwal, the redshirt sophomore in his 3rd season with the program. There weren't many holdovers from the previous regime. Jared Hass, our colleague, the longtime coach here, giving way to Kyle Smith in the offseason.
Right now, you're looking for some signs of life if you're Syracuse, and plays like this give you some hope. Nice little penetration, kick to the corner, no hesitation. They knock it down, but then taking it strong to the rim, that's where they've had some success.
Jair Davis misfires on the first of 2. Few stickers on his suitcase. Redshirt season at Providence out of high school. Spent the last 3 years at Delaware. And the Orange, they have recovered nicely since that slow start.
Well, like I said, you don't have to do it all at once, but if you can head in at half with a single-digit game, kind of make up for that slow start. They've made a run.
Reynaud, giant steps down the lane and draws a foul.
You know, normally when you're 7'1", this pump fake is just that. It's a threat, but he actually can shoot the 3, so you have to respect it. And once Lampkin leaves the ground,
Spirit on 2, 1-2.
Reynaud knows exactly what to do, attacking the rim.
Stanford hasn't had a conference scoring champion since Landry Fields back in 2010. Reno currently leads the ACC at 20.5 points per game. Was the most improved player in the Pac-12 conference last season. Now making a run at ACC Player of the Year in his final collegiate go-around. Just won ACC Player of the Week for a third time this season after what he did in a pair of victories last week here at home.
And you look at his numbers in this conference, and if they stay where they are, it's hard to make an argument for him not being Player of the Year, but with Cooper's flag and the highlights and the sizzle, it's just going to be difficult.
Lampkin through the contact and scores over the top of Reno for his first points tonight.
Let's go, boys.
Eddie Lampkin played in this arena as a conference foe last season as a member of the Colorado Buffaloes. Agarwal has it knocked away. Starling catches, lets it fly, and buries the three. Timeout Stanford from 23 down back to single digits.
Well, we knew it wasn't going to be a runaway situation for the Cardinal. The Qs stringing together.
Final 4 minutes of the opening 20 in Maples Pavilion. Maxime Reno already on the cusp of what would be his 17th double-double this season. And after Stanford scored the first 17 points of the game, Syracuse has done a nice job to weather the storm here before the break.
Well, you knew the defensive stops were eventually going to come for Syracuse. 17-0 was completely unreal and unacceptable, but most importantly, Syracuse finding some luck from range and attacking the rim, getting into the lane, high percentage shots. And if you're Syracuse, you just want to keep your foot on the gas. No reason you should be happy with single digits. And if you're Stanford, you've got to do better than this. Coming out of the timeout with the turnover, and the Qs are off and running right to the rim.
Well, Taylor took that Euro step around Reno, but he's from France. Blakes for three. Short, off the side of the iron. And the Cardinal missed 7 of their last 8 attempts.
Talk about a drought. You always shoot your percentage. That's just a rule in basketball. So if you start off hot.
Jair Davis. Oh, he tried to cock it back and throw it down, but it went in softly.
A little contact on there. Could have been and one, but beautiful pick and roll. I thought he got away with a offensive foul on that ball screen, but the Qs is in the house, as they used to say back in the day. Nice little run.
Reno misfires. Agarwal, the offensive rebound, but does not have the follow.
Got to finish that all by yourself under the rim. No excuses. Just giving more opportunities for Syracuse to cut further into this lead.
Starling leans in. Lampkin had it. And a foul on Stanford will keep it with Qs. I thought we were going to be on poster watch with this one.
You're going to see a really tough screen and then a nice pocket pass. Takes off, gets a piece of the ball up top. That's why there was no foul call, but gets the friendly bounce. And would you believe we're at 7 points? Syracuse with the ball, down just 7.
Nice punch back from the Orange. Trying to get closer before the break. These final 2.5 minutes. Trailed by 23 early. Starling. Lampkin bobbles it. Across the floor, it's intercepted by Gaylor. A 6th Syracuse turnover this first half.
Lampkin, a good passing big man, just didn't see the defender. But Syracuse starting to lock down on the defensive side of the court. See if the Cardinal can score a bucket here. Beautiful backdoor.
Isaiah Sellers finishes off the assist from Maxime Reno. His second assist tonight. A point away from a double-double already. Maxime Reno, the leading scorer in the ACC, tops in the country in double-doubles. Lampkin, and the entry pass deflected out.
talked about Lampkin's ability to pass. Sometimes he's got to look to shoot, but when the defense is excited, they overextend. You got to hit them with the back door. Beautiful release, nice pocket pass, easy too.
Darling resets late in the clock. Davis faces up on Agarwal. Extra pass, Lucas Taylor. Davis grabs a second effort and lost it out of bounds. Reno out top, picked up by Lampkin and lost the handle on the way up. It'll stay here. Syracuse swore they saw it hit off Reno last.
And they may have a case on this. I don't know that anybody knocked this ball away. It looked like he might have lost it on the way up. That ball's off of Reno, but somehow it stays with Stanford. I think they're going to say it was knocked out of his hand, but to no avail. The cues on the break.
Carlos high off the glass with a southpaw flip.
Boy, the momentum has completely shifted in this building. Stanford came out on fire, but it's been Syracuse over the second 10 minutes that has imposed their will, gotten defensive stops, and finally getting some buckets in transition and knocking down some threes as well.
Reno for three. Keeler grabs the loose ball on the perimeter. 9 seconds separate the shot clock and game clock. Keeler downhill. Tapped in by Reno. And that'll give him a double-double.
Reno may have gotten away with a little push in the back, but when you're talented, they let it slide. Offensive putback good for the Cardinals.
Final seconds of the opening 20. Davis finds Starling. In and out. But despite trailing by 23 early, Syracuse within single figures here at the break. A nice close to the opening 20 for the Orange out west.
Well, Syracuse gave away the first 10 minutes of this game, but then they dug in and made a run. The question is, can they continue in the second half? You see the run. It's always a game of runs. We'll see who takes over.
33-24. It's halftime here in Stanford. The halftime report with Zubin Mehenti and Malcolm Huckabee coming up after this short break. Stay with us. Getting you ready for the start of the second half. Late night out west. 33-24. The Stanford Cardinal over the Syracuse Orange at the break. Hey, thanks for staying up late with us. We'll take another order of bow tie pasta to get us through the second half with the Arizona Wildcat, Corey Williams. I'm Chris Sylvester. Hey, strong start for Stanford, but Syracuse punched back and very much in this game at the break.
Well, we're not surprised that Maxime Reno wasted no time putting in work, being the player that we know he is for Stanford, getting buckets early, getting them off to a phenomenal start. But it was the Qs who 10 minutes into the game just flipped a switch, started attacking the rim, getting downhill. They started imposing their will offensively and getting stops on the defensive end, slicing and dicing their way back all the way to where we are now, where they're down single digits.
Both teams wound up shooting 40% from the field those opening 20 minutes. The 25-2 run for Stanford to open the game. Syracuse ended on a 22-8 stretch. Maxime Reno, the national leader, his 17th double-double already through one half of basketball tonight. Who else needs to get involved for Stanford to secure a victory on their home floor this second half?
Well, they have to regain the form they had in the opening 10 minutes. You know, when you talk to coaches, Chris, they all say, oh, the opening 5 minutes of the second half, you know, those are the most important minutes of the game. And a lot of times you just dismiss that as coach speak. But in this situation, it is absolutely true. Can Stanford reestablish the tempo and the dominance? Or can Syracuse just continue the run they ended the half on? They go right to their money man one-on-one. This is the matchup we talked about.
I didn't get to see a ton of it in the first half, and Lampkin wins the first battle of the second as he forces the Reno miss.
Despite the height difference, Reno's not going to move Lampkin off the block. He's too big for that. Can he score over him? And there's a senseless turnover by Davis, an illegal screen. You got to be set against the defender.
Jair Davis picking up his second foul of the night, the 8th Syracuse turnover. Sellers swings it. Blake's for three. McCammon on the offensive glass off the deflection. Earns Stanford a second bite at the apple. Agarwal tees it. Pair of misses from the outside. Stanford will get another chance on a Syracuse foul. Another one on Jair Davis.
In a game like this, you have to come up with that defensive rebound. The first time Reno was able to tip it and keep it alive, and right there, you had possession, but an off-the-ball foul gives it back to the Cardinal.
Pete Mastorovich, who had a season-high 10 points over the weekend at home against Pitt, is back in off the bench, replacing Davis. Reno skips it to Sellers. He backpedals out. Peels back for three and buries it.
And you know, the thing about that is Stanford was 33%, 1 for 3 on that possession, but they walk out of there with 3 points because of the offensive rebound and the foul. Syracuse did their job defensively, got 2 stops, but unable to keep them from scoring.
Starling to the rim, couldn't wrap it home. Lampkin puts it back off the glass.
And that's the benefit of attacking the rim. It frees up Lampkin for those offensive rebounds.
The 23 rebounds for Eddie Lampkin against Pitt Saturday. The first Orange to do that since Derek Coleman back in 1990.
Well, you talk about Orangeman royalty when you mentioned Derek Coleman. Huge fan of his. The Big East.
Another moving screen. It's on Mastorovich.
So, Chris, we're talking about creating opportunities. Right now, you penetrate, you miss. Reno goes for the block, and it frees up Lampkin all by himself. He's the biggest man out there. Easy pickings for him.
Blakes races inside and scores. First second half points for Jalen Blakes, who was just 1 for 6 in that first half. So Stanford stretches this lead back to a dozen.
Feel like the Orange need a bucket here to kind of calm the run.
It's Lampkin missing short, but a late whistle for a foul. It's on Reno, and it will send Eddie Lampkin Jr. to the free throw line for the first time tonight. First foul on Maxime Reno tonight. Lampkin 53% at the free throw stripe. Our next NBA doubleheader on ESPN is Friday when the Nuggets square off against the 76ers, followed by the Suns and Warriors in the nightcap. It all starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Hey, who's going to get Jimmy Butler? The Suns, the Warriors, maybe somebody else? Maybe he stays put in South Beach and keeps going toe for toe with Pat Riley until the summertime.
The disgruntled employee sweepstakes. Not sure I'd be lining up to bring him into my locker room right now unless this is all just a game. But Jimmy Butler, one of the most solid players in the NBA, a true professional up until now.
Jalen Blake sticks the three. Back-to-back makes for the Duke transfer. Stanford has drilled 6 triples tonight. Taylor picks up his dribble, finds an open Jaquan Carlos. He answers back. The third tray for Cuse.
Beautiful vision right there. They saw 2 defenders rotate in, good skip pass, good shot in rhythm.
The Hofstra transfer has been a nice spark off the bench as Blakes turns it over. Starling coast to coast. Mastorovich, patience in the eye of a storm. They're slow to get up as they bring out the mop men.
He lost a shoe. He was able to put it back on. Official stopping the play. Right here, loose ball. Hughes might have gotten away with a little bit of a reach. You're going to see Renault with the ball, but then right here, gets knocked away. Good hustle play by the Orange.
First points for the young freshman coming off his career high. Appearing in his 19th game here in game 21 for Syracuse. A program that's suffered just one losing season the last 50 years. Blakes into traffic. And a foul called. It's on Jaquan Carlos, and Jalen Blakes will trigger up a pair of free throws on the other side. Syracuse, well, they trailed by 23 early, but they're hanging around in the second half on the farm. Duke will try and stretch a winning streak that currently sits at 14 games. They're the only unbeaten team in the ACC. Meanwhile, North Carolina, with that loss at Pitt last night, very much on the bubble still, but certainly no lock to get to March Madness, and that would be for a second time already post Roy Williams that the Tar Heels aren't in the big dance.
Well, they can right the ship with a win against Duke, and you can bet that is the discussion in the locker room. That's the billboard material. All things can be washed away if they somehow emerge with a win.
The ex-Blue Devil Jalen Blakes delivers with a pair of makes at the free throw line out of the timeout. Stanford back up double figures. Eddie Lampkin so good at creating up top. Shot clock into single digits. Lampkin. The behind-the-back pass off target and taken by Reno.
It's a great thought, great look, poor execution. Lampkin knowing when he's double-teamed, and he knew who was open, but just didn't make a great pass.
Blakes has it slapped loose down to the deck to get it, and the possession arrow points the way of the Orange. Evan Stinson on the floor for the first time for Stanford tonight. What a job that Pat Kelsey has done in his first season with the Louisville Cardinals. Clemson was an Elite Eight team from a season ago. Very much in the hunt for the ACC regular season title, despite Duke winning its first 10 conference games.
Yeah, a lot of people feel like it's Duke and Louisville, and then there's not a whole lot of spread between everybody else, but definitely think that's a league that can get 5 teams in, possibly 6.
Isaiah Sellers finds Reno. Stinson to the baseline, and it bounces in. The freshman from Cheney, Washington. Didn't see the floor in the opening 20.
Nice aggressive one-on-one move.
Starling with an opening. Missed it off the side of the iron, taken by Sellers, his third board tonight.
And Starling's going to have to heat up for Syracuse. He's a guy who can get 20 points in his sleep. And right now, he's been relatively quiet. You don't want to force things, but he definitely needs to become a factor in this game.
Akpara off the Reno miss. Stinson. That would have sent the student section into a frenzy.
A fan favorite, the freshman pulling the trigger. A nice little one-on-one, then a bit of a heat check just now.
Blakes and Mastorovich getting tangled up inside. Jaquan Carlos spins, and the entry pass broken up and stolen by Blakes. Zigzagging downhill, he stops at the free throw line, and Stanford will slow things down.
Yeah, up 12 with a lot of time. There's no need to rush, get a good shot, and there's no better shot than this one-on-one opportunity. Great pass.
Stinson, the slasher, off the feed from Reno, and a timeout, Syracuse.
Stanford trying to reestablish themselves offensively, and no better man to make that happen than Maxime Reyno with the dime. Cardinal up 14. Yeah, when you got the big boys coming in your building, you hit them with everything but the kitchen sink, and 38 wasn't enough to get it done, but that's a sign of a good club. Strap it on, play well on the road. Good set play out of the timeout. They drill a three. That's beautiful execution. That's Coach Red Archery right there, drawing up a great look for the Orange out of the timeout.
First points of the night for Chris Bell, the Northern California native who grew up in Concord. Reyno answers back with a straightaway make. Maxime Reyno showing off his range tonight with his third triple. He's got 14 and 12.
That's just real leadership. You take a three and your best player answers with one to kind of keep things at a distance.
He doesn't hesitate.
He can't.
Bell picked up by Stinson. Sneaks it inside, and it bounces in for Mastorovic.
Back-to-back buckets for the Orange. Before that timeout, they had some turnovers, and that's why Coach Red Archery called that timeout. Wanted to get guys together because they're entering a time in the game where you have to play solid defense and take care of the ball. Good rotation defensively, and they get the stop.
Getting his first second half run off the crossover, leaning in on Sellers, and it pops out. 13th board for Maxime Reyno. Averages almost 12 a game in the rebounding column. Flashes the leather, takes it downhill, spins, and a soft touch from Maxime Reyno.
Gotta respect the three, and then once he gets on the move, it's just hard to stop him.
Just another night at the office for the leading scorer and rebounder in the ACC. Quickly climbing up mock draft boards. Cuff gets it back. Shot clock didn't reset. And fouled on the way up with 5 to shoot. Kyle Cuff. Pair of free throws when we return.
Well, tonight it has been the Frenchman taking control. How do you want it? He can give you whatever you need. 3-ball from distance. And just when you think you've got that figured out, little pump fake action, one-on-one to the rim. Unstoppable setter.
Maxime Reyno having another stellar night. 17th double-double of the season for the senior from Paris, France. One of a number of great basketball stars to come from France in recent memory. Of course, Wemby, who's already taken the NBA by storm. Back-to-back #1 overall picks have come from France. And well, before Victor Wembanyama was a superstar, he and Maxime Reyno were teammates back home in France. Maxime's actually a little bit older than Wemby.
Oh, you look at all those names. It's the French Revolution. Guys coming in to the NBA, obviously 450 of the best players in the world. And when you see those draft positions, you instantly know basketball is so popular globally, and they're turning out that kind of talent.
Just had the Olympics in Paris, where France finished as the silver medal award winners. We just had some NBA games in Paris last week, and there's Wemby before the world knew about him. And I think the world has learned a lot about Maxime Reyno in his final college season here on the farm.
Both those gentlemen have learned about protein shakes based on that picture. Good Lord.
Well, here is Reyno backing in Lampkin. Across the floor to Stinson. Shot clock into single digits. Akpara. Into the paint. Spins right. Off the side of the glass and recovered by Syracuse inside. Bell from the corner. Puts it in, plus a foul. He has a chance at a 4-point play. And Chris Bell has come alive in this second half.
Transition has been the friend of Syracuse all night. They get the ball up court in the corner and just poor decision making. You want to close out without fouling. Talked about Bell's ability to knock down shots, and there you see he only needs a little bit of room to get it off. And man, that was just what the doctor ordered if you're Syracuse. Trying to get this within striking distance and can't cash in on the free throw.
We good.
Chris Bell's been shooting 50% from the perimeter over his last 7 games. Grew up 50 miles from here. Went to De La Salle High School before prep school in Utah. His 3rd season at Syracuse. Akpara on the crossover. Sneaks it into Agarwal, and he scores off the window.
Boy, Agarwal just moving without the ball. He made that whole play happen. The offense was stagnant, and then he made a great back cut. And right now, if you're Syracuse, 11-point game. Maxime Reno is out of the game. Can you make a run?
Jaquan Carlos knocks down the 3. Back-to-back downtown hits for Syracuse.
And if you're Kyle Smith, how much of this do you watch before you go back with your 7-footer? Can this unit continue to get buckets?
Carlos' first double-figure scoring game of conference play. And perfect 5 for 5 from the floor. Akpara operating downhill again and flutters it home.
Nice one-on-one move by Akpara. Kept his footwork. Made a nice little up and under.
First point of the night for the Harvard transfer off the Cardinal bench. Now both teams in a rhythm from the field. Lampkin knocks over Kamen and throws it down.
And that was a great no call. A flop call would have negated the basket, and that's what Stanford wanted. And the referees, this is the ACC, you're not getting that. And here comes Reno back out.
Benny Gaylor lays it in on a defensive breakdown.
And you've seen a lot of those tonight from Syracuse. Just poor on-the-ball defense.
Defense is where the Orange have struggled the most this season. Second to last in the ACC in scoring defense. Big Eddie Lampkin getting back to work. Isolated with Kamen and scores with the left hand this time. He's firing up the Orange.
Well, they know that's a free lunch on the block. Anytime Lampkin has the one-on-one right there, they're just going to sit back and let him cook. But can they get over the hump?
Jalen Blake draws a foul. Stanford continues to attack. And more free throws for Jalen Blakes. But Eddie Lampkin keeping Syracuse within striking distance.
The big man making big plays in the paint right there. A little weight room action. And the second time around, he knows he's going to hit pay dirt with a nice little jump hook off the glass. Syracuse trying to make a run.
All right, with the Arizona Wildcat, Corey Williams, Chris Sylvester, our entire crew as we play down the stretch here. Syracuse trying to avoid a losing season. It's only happened once in the last half century. It was a few years ago, one of the final campaigns for Jim Boeheim at the helm. Meanwhile, Stanford, this is their best start since the 1920 season. Of course, there was no NCAA tournament that season. You talked to people around the program. They felt like they would have gone to the big dance if there was one in 2020, but certainly trying to make a case this year. Top 70 of the net in Kyle Smith's first season, and a win tonight would go a long way.
Certainly. It's all about resume building, winning the games you're supposed to win. And I put air quotes around the word supposed to, because nothing is as it seems anymore in college basketball. So many changes in rosters, transfer portal, NIL. The blue chips aren't really blue chips these days. You just kind of have to go out and win every game and respect every opponent.
Maxime Reno back on the floor for Stanford. Syracuse took advantage of that stretch when he was on the bench.
A little 7-point run. They got a couple of layups and a 3. And now it is go time for the Qs. Down 10.
Bell will penetrate and wave it off. Jalen Blakes absorbs the charge.
And I don't like that call one bit. Not at all. I think the defender is late getting over. He does a good job of body control. Either way, he was there, he was set, he was above the arc. So by the book, that's a charge, player control. But, man, that's a tough call.
inside of 7 minutes. Stanford nursing a 10-point lead, jumped out to a 23-point lead early in the first half. And Reno is hit on the swing, not in the act of shooting, but it's the 7th on Syracuse, so Maxime Reno will toe the foul stripe for the 1-and-1. Third foul on Pete Mostorovich.
You're up 10, 7 minutes remaining in the game. I'll give you one guess who the ball is going to go through nearly every possession if you're Stanford.
Okay.
That's the job of your leader, to take you home, get you over the finish line. I'd be surprised if he didn't touch the ball every possession for the rest of the game.
Now, he has often been the closer for Stanford during this stretch where they've won 5 of 6. In your eyes, how does he project at the next level?
Oh, he's going to be sensational. He's going to be sensational because he can shoot. And the NBA is filled with coaches that know how to use his skill set. A lot of time they spend trying to develop guys to get the skills that he's going to be walking in the door with. So when you got a guy with size who can shoot, you know, he doesn't have to be Luka Doncic, but all he has to do is take advantage of those lightning quick guards they have in the NBA, get accustomed to the speed of the game. He's going to score a lot of points at the next level.
Stanford back up a dozen. Tough night for J.J. Starling. 2 of 11 from the field. A guy that averages 19 a game for Syracuse. Lampkin will take his chances with Reno. Floats it to Carlos. Watched by Sellers. Davis. Late in the clock. Starling catch and shoot. And it rolls off. Reno juggles and claims his 14th board tonight.
Good possession for Syracuse. They got a good look, but Stanford collecting that defensive rebound. The clock is your friend. Up 12. It's all about ball security here if you're the Cardinal.
Reno sets the screen for Blakes, and it was not a legal screen. He lost his footing and knocked over Jaquan Carlos. That's a third on Maxime Reno.
Well, the first mistake is you go under the ball screen, which you're inviting a three, and then there's a little incidental contact. He kind of sells it to the official because he was dead in the water. The moment you go under that three,
Davis into the paint, spins on Akpara and floats it in.
Now it's time for the Orange to try to dig in defensively and string together some stops if they're going to make a run here.
Yeah, it's going to have to start on this end for Syracuse. When they had that big run late in the first half, they did it by piling together stops. Reno provokes a three. It's off the heel, and Carlos whistled for traveling. I thought he was bumped by Jalen Blakes, which took him out of control. Instead, Jaquan Carlos gives it right back to Stanford.
And that's a tough call, but it appears to be the right call.
And Red Autry is not happy.
No, because he understands how important the rest of these possessions are. Got a double-digit lead with 5 minutes to go. You need every stop, and Stanford will get a chance to run more time off the clock, but they give it right back on a travel.
Little indecisiveness shown by Hosea Sellers, who's been quiet in this second half, been held to 3 points after popping off for a career-best 27 on Saturday against Florida State. On a night where Jaquan Carlos, who averages less than 6 points a game, leads Syracuse in scoring, who do you want the ball to be with down the stretch for the Orange, trailing by double figures?
You want Lampkin to touch it, but you want Bell and Starling to get good looks from three. Those are the kind of guys that can splash some points up there for you pretty easy. There you see the double team in the kick.
Chris Bell, way off.
You got what you wanted, you just didn't knock down the shot.
Syracuse 6 of 15 from the perimeter. Bell's gone 2 of 4 with all those attempts after halftime. Agarwal around the Reno screen. Out to Maxime. sidestep three. Off the front rim and chased down by Davis. Clock will soon become a factor here. Davis takes it inside and scores off the window.
Good job right there by Reno, not committing the foul, just surrendering the bucket because the clock is their friend. They're going to get an opportunity here to run more time. They want to get a high percentage shot.
Blakes at a step. Couldn't reverse it in.
Wow, no call, some contact there on that layup.
J.J. Starling heat up down the stretch. Nice crossover, shimmy, and a finish at the cup. This is a 6-point game.
Boy, that was a filthy move. You could see it in his eyes from the moment he got that one-on-one out front. The Q's putting together a couple of good possessions. In the one-on-one, we talked about getting the rock in the paint. Davis, little body control. And at the other end, just a beautiful crossover, finish in the lane. You got a 2-possession game.
Maxime Reno making another strong case tonight. 17th double-double of the season, which leads the country. He's done his part, and on a night where Stanford opened the game up 25-2, it is Syracuse heating up here down the stretch. Corey, this is the closest the Orange has been since it was 7-0 Stanford 3 minutes into the game.
And that was an eternity ago. Syracuse kind of forfeiting the opening 10 minutes of this game, and turnovers have kind of plagued them in certain situations. But right now, they find themselves in a 2-possession affair. 3.5 minutes to go. Can they get the stops they need? And that's going to come down to how they defend Maxime Reno. You know the ball's going to go through him. Lampkin Jr. has been tasked with guarding him in the one-on-one. Little full court pressure trap by Hughes, and they get the turnover. Beautiful call out of the timeout. Coach Autry.
Now that full court pressure speeding up Jalen Blakes. And the Orange get it back.
You make the mistake of entering the ball to the corner in a reckless pass, but great anticipation. He tries to dribble it, and it hits the end line, and Syracuse steals a second possession. Can they score? Is the question. I feel like a bucket here really turned the tide, and they give it away on a sloppy bounce pass.
Perhaps trying to do too much. Starling's bounce pass taken away by Reno. Stanford hasn't scored in 3.5 minutes.
Little dribble handoff offense, and they finally end up with the pin down, getting it inside of their go-to man.
Reno. Perfect.
I talked about how polished his game is. That was just an NBA-like play. Isolation, took the contact, and hit him with the floater jump hook.
Inside of 3 minutes. Taking a lot of time to develop. Starling off the side of the iron. It has not been his night. And a frustration foul given by Starling to Benny Geeler.
Chris, you got to look at the spacing they give Reno right here. He's got the whole side of the floor to work with. Takes a little check, up and over, nothing but net. And I don't know, that's going to be tough to defend even in the next level in the NBA. That's just a beautiful move.
1-and-1 here for Benny Geeler. He's now 23 of 25 at the free throw line. Syracuse will play one more game here in California against the Cal Golden Bears on Saturday in Berkeley. Stanford will make one of their shortest ACC road trips to Dallas to battle SMU on Saturday. Try and take a 4-game winning streak to the Moody Center. Another miss from Bell.
Kind of feel like opportunities slipping away And that's going to be over and back on Blakes as his foot went over the line.
Give Syracuse a little life here inside of 2 minutes down 9.
Good defense right here. You watch that right foot drop back over the line. Good call by the official. Hughes with 3 empty possessions. Can they get a bucket here?
Carlos stops and starts, elevates. 15 to lead Syracuse off the bench for Jaquan Carlos tonight. And the lead is down to 7 with 1:45 to play. Well, Jaquan Carlos to the rescue with a season high off the bench.
He's had the hot hand with plays like this. The floater in the lane is good.
Syracuse trying to make things interesting down the stretch within 7:45 to play. Steep hill to climb, but it's not out of the reach here. How did the Orange pull this off?
Well, you either need missed free throws or turnovers, and you've got a better chance at getting the turnovers. So right now you're seeing the full court press. Can you get a deflection? Can you speed them up and maybe get an on-the-ball steal or something to that effect? Stanford solid from the line. You just got to try to create a situation where you can get a loose ball.
Stanford is taking good care of the basketball tonight. Just 8 giveaways. Gaylor had a step, and the former walk-on lays it in.
And when your 7-footer is out there at the top of the key, taking the big man out of the picture, you get those kinds of layups.
The acceleration and finish for Gaylor. 9-point lead for the Cardinal, approaching a minute left to play at Maples. Lampkin fouled. Reno had been knocked down, and Lampkin immediately turned into the body of the freshman Aiden Kamen. Ben Gaylor has played a big role down the stretch tonight as Syracuse has tried to claw back into this game.
Well, normally Lampkin has to come down and defend the rim, but he can't because Reno's stepping out for the 3, and at the other end, as soon as he gets the ball, he turns in, little blocking foul, can't convert.
One more for Eddie Lampkin, who spent 3 seasons at TCU out of high school, last year at Colorado, having his best year with the Syracuse Orange. And he cashes in a pair of free throws. Chris Bell back on the floor for Red Autry, replacing Jair Davis.
3-possession game. You need some miscues from the Orange, from Stanford if you're Syracuse. And right now they're going to let them run clock and trust in their defense.
Gaylor lost his balance and somehow got it to Sellers. Shot clock into single digits. Sellers, 3. Blake soars in. Now Syracuse has to foul. They can't play this out, and Carlos puts his hands on Gaylor. Well, Jalen Blakes came out of nowhere and makes this much tougher for Syracuse with 40.8 to play.
And that's just the winning mentality. The shot goes up, and everybody starts backpedaling to get back on D except Blakes. He runs to the ball and wins an extra possession for Stanford. Big time play. Might be the play that seals this game.
Even with the make here, it's a 3-possession game still, but a lot of things would have to fall into place these final 40 seconds for the Orange. Timeout called. Stanford has its fans fired up about this program again. Might be closing in on their 4th straight win. 9-point lead for Stanford over Syracuse with 40 seconds left from Maples Pavilion, the finale of a 3-game homestand. Stanford trying to sweep it, beat Miami and Florida State on their home floor here last week, and they've led wire to wire tonight.
You want consistency, you want your key guys stepping up. This will probably be a team win if Stanford can hold on. Syracuse, just look at the opening minutes.
Carlos having trouble with the handle, still stumbling. And he's fouled in the act. Jaquan Carlos somehow kept his dribble all that time as he zigzagged through the Stanford defense.
You should be fired. Go back to scrummage.
All right, ACC Network has a men's basketball triple header this Saturday, starting at 2 Eastern with Florida State and Boston College, followed by Virginia Tech at Virginia. Then at 6 Eastern, Stanford rolls into Dallas to take on SMU. Don't miss it, Saturday on ACC Network. Andy Enfield, who for a number of years coached against Stanford at USC in his first season with the SMU Mustangs. One of his former players, Osiah Sellers, one of Stanford's top scorers, told me yesterday that, simply put, it's been circled on his calendar and he'll be ready for that one.
No motivation needed for that one, I tell you.
Yeah, didn't get a ton of run down at USC the last couple of years under Enfield, but been part of what Kyle Smith calls a big three that they've been able to form at Stanford with Reno, Sellers, and Jalen Blakes.
And the beautiful thing about that, if you're Stanford, you've got guys that are consistent, and most importantly, you can take a couple of possessions off when you got two other guys that get buckets.
Kyle Smith, widely regarded as one of the great program builders in the sport right now. What he did at Columbia, San Francisco, most recently Washington State. Stanford, should they hold on here, they will already have one more win than they did the entirety of last season before the calendar flips to February. Just a remarkable job done by Kyle Smith as Kamen blocks the Starling attempt in the corner. And it ricochets out with 20.7 in a 9-point game.
And even more impressive, they've hit that mark as the new kids on the block in a new conference. With a lot of questions being answered.
Too much time winding off here for Syracuse. Starling keeps it. And Blakes will cradle the final attempt of the game. The Stanford Cardinal have won 6 of 7 and continue to make noise in the ACC. 70-61, your final score from Maples Pavilion.
Balanced attack by the Cardinal. They got out to the big win, and it was enough to hold on. Syracuse could never really turn the corner, but a gritty effort by the Orange as well.
Syracuse will try and split this 2-game West Coast road trip at Cal on Saturday. Orange dropped their 3rd straight tonight, fall 4 games under 500 in conference play. And Stanford just 2 games behind Clemson and Louisville, right behind Duke in the ACC standings. Impressive year.
Yeah, they're right there. They got a chance to write their own path, make their own future.
Another big night for Maxime Reno, 21 points, 15 boards, and the Cardinal improved to 12-1 at home this season. They lead wire to wire tonight in a 70-61 win over the Syracuse Orange. For Corey Williams and our entire crew, I'm Chris Sylvester. Thanks for watching the ACC on ESPN. Good night, everybody.